those surrounding him. Many elected officials, including some in this chamber, have used autopens, a mechanical device that replicates a signature. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, so long as we are the ones actually making the decisions. But under President Biden, the autopen became a troubling symbol, a symbol of an absentee president in an executive branch directed by nameless, faceless aides that no one outside of Washington, D.C. had ever heard of and no one ever voted for. It was the autopen presidency, a government run by committee rather than a leader chosen by the American people. By contrast, love him or hate him, we all know President Trump is in command of his presidency, and he is the one calling the shots. It is plain as day that President Trump is actively making the decisions, whether announced via Truth Social or signature. Under President Biden, that transparency and certainty evaporated. We cannot confidently say that the decisions bearing his signature were the will of the president or his Politburo. That goes doubly for his social media posts, including his decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential election. We did not know if it was his decision or posted on his behalf after a palace coup because President Biden was mentally unfit to serve. The corporate media played an indispensable role in this cover-up, systematically suppressing discussion of President Biden's condition. As we will demonstrate in the video evidence presented today, dissenting voices were silenced, and the truth was buried. It was not a passive oversight. It was deliberate. It was a deliberate campaign to shield a narrative that protected the interests of the most powerful. Even members of this very committee, some of whom served alongside then Senator Biden when he chaired this very committee, defended his mental acuity for years. Now Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson offer a convenient narrative to absolve everyone involved. The media lacked access, the family was overtly protective, the cabinet was incompetent, and Robert Hur said the president was merely a well-meaning man in aviators who liked ice cream. It is the tired, evasive refrain of the politician caught in a lie. Mistakes were made. Yes, mistakes were made. And every participant in the cover-up, from the media to the cabinet, is jointly and severally liable for what may very well be the greatest deception in our nation's history. Even their apologies today are framed in a way that absolve them from responsibility for this crime against the American people. They apologize for having missed the story. They didn't miss anything. They actively chose to ignore or run cover for the people in power. The Biden cabinet rarely met, and some members, like former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, deliberately distanced themselves from the president to maintain plausible deniability. Even members of this committee were part of the Great Deception. The Monday after Biden announced he would not seek re-election, one member called the idea of invoking the 25th Amendment outrageous, insisting the debate performance does not reflect who he is or his capacity to govern as President of the United States. Another member repeatedly vouched for Biden's fitness, declaring, Joe Biden is fit, capable, and ready to serve another term. And later, this is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on. Yet another, during the 2020 Democrat presidential primary, alluded to Biden's decline, but quickly retracted his remarks when it became politically expedient. After the debate, yet another member praised Biden's strong delivery of remarks to NATO as evidence of his capacity to lead. The purpose of this hearing is not to interrogate Biden officials or partisan reporters, though they should be held accountable. Instead, our focus is to identify and rectify the systemic weaknesses that allowed this situation to fester unchecked. Our distinguished witnesses, experts in White House transparency, operational procedures, and executive power will assist us in diagnosing these flaws. While the House and Senate pursue fact-finding missions to hold these responsible to account, our mission here is to chart a path forward. We cannot allow another weekend at Biden's presidency with its glaring national security vulnerabilities papered over by an autopen. The DC establishment might argue that the governance of a shadowy, unelected figures is a legitimate substitution for a functioning president. It is not. The American people cast their vote for a president, not a faceless apparatus. Article 2 of the Constitution vests immense authority in the President of the United States, a single individual. With that extraordinary power comes equally profound responsibility. At the Constitutional Convention, our founding fathers debated giving the President the title of Defender of the Rights of the American People. The security and well-being of the American people and their rights must take precedent over personal ambition. It is often said that power corrupts. I believe that power reveals. Over the past 4 years, this cover-up laid bare a disturbing reality. The left and the corporate media place their pursuit of power above the welfare of your families and your country. They dismissed your observations, urging you to not to trust your own eyes. We have a solemn duty to call this what it is, an abdication of constitutional duty. As was stated in Federalist 51, ambition must check ambition. If a president is mentally unfit to serve, we need a dependable mechanism to, at the very least, ensure that the truth reaches the American people. I look forward to the insights this hearing will yield and from our expert witnesses in the discussion that will follow. The public is counting on us to ensure this never happens again, because we won't always be fortunate enough to have a leader like President Trump, who is so unmistakably in command. Senator Welch.
Thank you very much. Senator Cornyn indicated the view of the hearing is that there was a constitutional crisis as a result of the cover-up of President Biden's decline. I believe there is a constitutional crisis. It's the collapse of Congress asserting its Article 1 authority to make decisions about the well-being of the American people. What has this Senate debated in the months that we've been here, other than nominations? Have we discussed the possible war with Iran? Have we had a serious discussion on the floor about the massive and mounting debt? Have we had any discussion about the abdication of congressional spending authority by the impoundment actions of an administration? Have we had a discussion about climate change that is
Itala kami. Download Tala now on Google Play Store.
debating those different points of view about oil exploration, or about clean energy, about a good healthcare system. What we do is turn that debate into personal accusations of motivations, of cover-up, of conspiracy, of bad character, of demeaning folks who disagree with us. So we never get to the discussion about how do we have a healthcare system that works for the people in Texas, the people in Louisiana, and the people in Vermont. We never get to the discussion about, are we going to deny the reality of what we know is true, climate change, and how do we address that in a way that maintains a strong economy and actually builds a strong economy? We get into the accusations that if you disagree with me, you're a left-wing radical. We get into these discussions that if you disagree with me, you're a Marxist. We get into these discussions that fan the perception we all represent, who desire nothing more than be able to take care of the families, live with some security, make a contribution in the communities where they live. That if a person disagrees with you, they are a bad person. We will get nowhere with that approach. Now, so many of the things that happened in the Biden administration, I totally supported, and many of you totally opposed. Those are policy disagreements. He came in with COVID. We got through COVID. We can debate about how we did it. but that was an accomplishment. The American Rescue Plan, we had the biggest jobs creation in the history of the country. The CHIPS and Science Act, acknowledging that we have to have a strong economy and be able to have the best chips here manufactured in the United States. We did that. The federal disaster program improved significantly. And I can go on. And I'll take up something where we didn't do well, and that's immigration. You won that argument. But does it mean that those who disagreed with you and along the way were bad people, should be labeled Marxist, should be condemned? The American people ultimately gets to decide. But to the extent that we have a responsibility that we share, Republicans and Democrats, whichever side of the issue you're on, is to debate the issue and not debase the people who are in the debate. That's what I see as the crisis that we're facing in this Congress. Our refusal to engage in the serious discussion about the issues that are having such an impact on the people we represent. And I'm going to tell you what I think is a cover-up. I think this big, beautiful bill done by reconciliation, whereby decision of the majority, not a single member of the minority who represent half of the citizens of this country can even be in the room when the terms and the policies are being debated. We are not there. That is what I call a cover-up, because our responsibility to the people we all represent is to debate healthcare, is to debate our budget, is to debate about the debt that we're going to be leaving future generations. And there is no debate in what is going to be decided in the private back rooms amid discussions, not even of all the Republicans, but of some Republican leaders. That's what's going to have a lasting impact on the people every one of us represents, whether it be in Missouri, Texas, North Carolina, or Louisiana, or Vermont. We can't even do our jobs because we're not allowed to be in the room.